and welcome to this Yin Yoga class today. Now, this sequence has been designed so that we only move within one pose per side. So we won't be doing anything that's got two sides. There'll just be one single plane of movement for each pose. And I've designed this for this time of year when it's not quite winter, it's not quite spring. We're kind of in a bit of a no man's land, and that can translate into that sort of not knowing and not really feeling grounded. A bit like we know lockdown will be lifted, but we don't know when and how it's going to happen. So at times like these, it feels really helpful to establish a sense of grounding within ourselves, within our minds and our bodies, so that we can navigate ourselves through these challenging times. And the way that we do this through yoga to find that groundedness is to use poses that stimulate the mula. We use poses that stimulate the root chakra. So that's the chakra at the base of the spine, the sense of grounding that connects us to ourselves and to the world around us. And when we feel that we've got this sense of groundedness within, then we might be like a weeble, that we wobble, but we don't fall down. So I'd like to invite you to find somewhere peaceful to practice. It's helpful if you've got a blanket, if you've got a block, or if not a block, a book. If you're lucky enough to have straps and bolsters, then please feel free, I'll give you some cues. But if you can just only find time to lay down, I will give you some options that you can do this without any props at all. So come and join me now and enjoy this refreshing, restoring practice of Yin Yoga. See you on the other side. If you have a block, that will be helpful for this practice, but if you haven't, you can use a big book or you can manage without it. I'll give you lots of instructions. Pups are optional, of course, but they don't half give you a nice sense of warmth. Oh, and he's off. He's gone on his own yoga cushion now, so I'm going to place this block underneath my sitting bones, and you can place a blanket or a cushion under the sitting bones too. And I think we're ready to start. And if you feel comfortable enough, close your eyes. And we'll begin this Yin Yoga practice where we stay in poses for a little time. We notice what's going on in our minds and our bodies. And we always make sure that we're never in the realms of pain. But we might feel a little uncomfortable in some of the shapes as the connective tissue gently starts to shift. And that's where the magic happens. So let's begin by noticing our breath. Notice whether your breath is fast or slow, whether it's smooth or a little jagged, maybe deep or shallow, or something else. Just noticing your breath is the first opportunity to really notice how we're feeling. The breath is a great barometer of our minds. So just settling in, preparing the mind for this practice of the body. And then when you've got acquainted with your breath, see if you can breathe a little deeper now. Inhaling slowly through the nose, exhaling slowly through the nose or the mouth. Breathing in a sense of peace. Breathing out anything that no longer serves you. Just using the breath to settle mind and body. And on your next exhale, just see if it's possible to relax any part of the body a little more. Maybe the shoulders. And as you relax,
Feel those sitting bones soften even further into the ground. Feel that connection to the ground, and at the same time feel the crown of the head lifting up to the sky. And then just stay with your breath for the next few moments. And then when you're ready, move in nice and slowly. I've just got my blanket here. And we're going to move into child's pose. So if you've got a pet, you might want to gently encourage them to move away. Taking the bits of the cushion that Frankie has devoured during that practice. Keeping it real today. And then we're going to take the big toes together, knees as wide as the mat. And I've placed the block underneath the crown of my head and that blanket just to rest my hands. Nice for Frankie too. But in the child's pose, it might be uncomfortable to be this low. You might wish to put a blanket under the backs of the knees. You might want to lift the hips a little higher. That can sometimes relieve any extra pressure in the backs of the knees. But when you're in a comfortable position that you can stay still in for a little while, then just allow your breath to settle. Feel a sense of being held by the earth. This is child's pose. So feel that child inside of you being nurtured by this shape. Feel as if you're being loved and cared for, and all your needs are being met here. And just a reminder that in our yin we want to stay for time. We don't want to feel any pain, but we want to seek that stillness externally and internally. So just see if you can find that still point in between the in-breath and the out-breath. I'm not sure if you have seen the film The Dig recently about the discovery of the Sutton Hoo treasure. As I was watching the film, it reminded me of how archaeology is very similar to Yin Yoga. It's a study of what lies beneath. So imagine your body as a mound in the earth. And in this practice, we're going to be studying the layers to see what they reveal. So maybe you can feel sensations in this shape. Maybe something you've never noticed before. So with that childlike curiosity, see if you can just watch and see what happens. Notice if the sensations change, intensify, lessen, or even disappear altogether. Now, archaeology is not easy. You need patience and dedication to investigate, to explore, noticing all those tiny little clues that together make up a whole. Now we're going to get ready to exit this pose in a moment. So take the weight into the hands and come up to all fours. And as Frankie's taking my notes away, I'll just give you a chance to come into the shape for our cat-cow sequence. So you might want to move side to side first, or go straight into cat-cows, where you inhale, lower the belly, look forward. Exhale, round the back, tuck the chin into the chest. And our next pose is big toe pose. It's a toe stretch, so we're going to tuck the toes under. A few alternatives here. This is the most intense, where the shoulders are above the hips. So we're trying to stimulate all the meridian lines in the soles of the feet. Now this is quite a juicy pose, so if it feels uncomfortable, we can just let the weight fall forward a little, so placing the hands on the thighs and then just letting the weight shift forward until you've found a spot that you can tolerate for a little while. You might have to go all the way down to the mat and even lean into the block or the book that you've got if it feels too much. So the toes are like tiny roots. So what we want to do in this pose is open up those roots and feel the energy rise into the feet. All the meridian lines of the lower body begin in the soles of the feet. So don't worry, we're not here for much longer now. Breathe deeply. And then when you're ready, as a counter pose, we're going to do an ankle stretch. So we're back to our child's pose. So we let the feet go down, it stretches out the ankles, which counter poses that broken toe pose, as it's sometimes called. So take a few deep breaths here. And then we'll be back up for some more cat-cows in a moment. So use a nice big inhale to lift you up to all fours. And then just as we did before, you might want to just have a little sway side to side, or you might want to go straight into those cat-cows, or you might feel that cat pose feels really good, or cow pose feels really good. So just feel. It's coming back so you can see me. And from here, we're going to come into dangle pose. There are two ways you can do this. You can just come to stand on your own steam, or you can do it through downward dog by tucking the toes under and then just walking the feet forward. And then we'll meet in this dangle pose, which is a standing forward fold with a deep bend in the knees. Now, you can take the hands onto a block, onto the thighs, or you could just let the arms dangle down. Keep that deep bend in the knees and the belly on the thighs. Lift the sitting bone up behind you. Now the head is below the heart here, so you might feel a little dizzy. If you feel uncomfortable, then just bring the head level with the heart by taking the hands onto the thighs. If you're happy and everything feels nice here, just soften. Let the weight of the upper body dangle. Again, we're not going to be here for too long. We're not here for minutes, just over a minute here. And then from here, we're going to come into squat pose, or malasana, or garland pose as it's sometimes called. And I'm going to use the block, or you can use a book if you haven't got a block, to sit onto. So we take the block and we just place it on the ground. Now you have 3 levels of a block. The shortest side, I'm sat on the medium. You might want to get a little higher by putting the block on the end. You might be able to manage without a block. I'm going to go for the block because I just like to stay here. So this is blossoming lotus, and if you don't like the squat pose, you can come into that one where you sit down and just take the feet as wide as the mat and just fold over. So I've decided that the best one for me is just sat on the block. I'm going to place the palms at the heart center. I've got a nice stretch in the hips. So when you feel that you're in a position that feels just right for you, let your tailbone be heavy. And dig deep into the layers of sensation. Revealing what's happening below the surface, the sensations in the muscles, the tendons, the tissues. Can you feel the blood pulsing round? Can you show tenderness for whatever you find? The archaeologist in the film The Dig was Basil Brown. And people who watched him work noticed how he showed deep tenderness for every single artifact he found. Not just the big wow things, but the tiny little parts of the investigation that made up the whole. Just as archaeologists will scrape and sift to find information from beneath the surface, allow your awareness to sift and sieve your body, breathing nice and deep for a little while longer. Now we're going to get ready to exit the pose, so take some weight into the hands to ease you gently out. And then we're going to come to sit on the mat, or we could sit on a rolled up blanket. We're going to take butterfly pose, but before we do, we're just going to take some butterfly flutters, and then we're just going to windshield wiper the knees side to side, just as a transition between the two poses. So a few variations: soles of the feet together, diamond shape. You could place a block underneath the feet, that's quite nice. You could place the block between the feet, that's also an option. We don't have to place the feet or use on any block or use any block. Just make sure that it feels comfortable in the knees and the hips. So if you're going to take the block between the feet, I would suggest on the slim side, not the wide side. And then when you've found a position that's comfortable for you, just allow your body to soften forward. And just breathe into all the spaces that you feel sensation now. Maybe in the groin and the back, the upper back, the lower back, middle of the back. And just as archaeologists will divide a big dig into the smaller parts, see if you can divide this pose into smaller parts, section by section, noticing what's going on. And every time your mind wanders, coming back to the breath first, find that calm stillness that's always there at the core, at the centre. I'll leave you here for a little while longer. Now on an inhale, slowly come up. Take the hands behind the back. Windshield wiper the legs gently from one side to the other. And our next pose is dragonfly pose. So you might want to sit on a blanket. I always feel it's nice just to lift the hips up a little from the floor. You might want to place the blanket under the knees. You might want to use a block to lean onto. But take the legs as wide as they'll comfortably go, and then just bring them in a little bit so they're not too far apart. Keep a soft bend in the knees. A few options for you. You could make a little shelf with your block or your book to rest the elbows on. And this stops you going too far forward. But this is a pose where you get a lot of movement in the tissues very quickly, so you might want to adjust the position of the block. Keep the feet relaxed and keep that soft bend in the knees so that you don't overstretch the knees. And dragonflies breathe through the belly. So see if you can soften and deep and breathe through the belly, nice big belly breath. And always playing that edge. If you feel that you're not getting enough sensation, then just allowing the body to soften until you get that edge. Feeling those edges, just like archaeologists will trowel around the edges. But millimetre by millimetre, just like those archaeologists, not moving too fast. Always be mindful of what's being revealed to you in this shape today. I'll leave you here once again for a little while longer. On your next inhale, slowly come up and then just take the hands behind the back and just windshield wiper those knees once again, rocking from one side to the other. And then we're going to come into a bridge pose. So I'm going to take this blanket to put underneath my head. If you've got a block or a book handy, this will give you a supported bridge, which will allow you to let go of any effort. So the blanket just comes up to where the shoulders are, and then place the block or the book underneath the sacrum. So experiment with different positions, but make sure that you feel safe enough that you can just allow the hips to soften down, palms facing up, chin tucked in. And this supported bridge pose can also offer another pose called pontoon pose, where we straighten out the legs. I find this pose a little bit too intense, so I prefer to stay in the supported bridge with the knees bent. Now, one of the most famous female archaeologists in the UK of the 20th century was a lady called Jacquetta Hawkes, who wrote a book called A Land. And at the beginning of her book, she writes about how after a busy day working on a site, she would return to her London back garden and lie on the ground. And she said, "This hard ground presses my flesh against my bones and makes me agreeably conscious of my body. In bed I can sleep. Here I can rest awake." So see if you can feel your flesh against your bones. See if you can rest awake, connecting to the earth beneath you. Once again, resting awake here for a little while longer. Now to exit this pose, press into the feet, lift the hips gently up, and then you can slowly remove that support beneath you and use an exhale to lower. Just take the soles of the feet together as a counter pose, hand on the belly if you'd like to, just feeling the breath. And then we'll go into our final pose, happy baby pose. So just rock side to side, then bend the knees and bring the knees to the outside of the ribs, holding on to the outside of the feet, the backs of the thighs. Or if you've got a strap, you could use a strap along the soles of the feet to hold on to. Tuck the chin in and just allow the breath to soften. This is a really nice pose to release the sacrum. And then just feel the spine lengthen as the skin on the sacrum spreads. As we return to the base of the spine in this final pose, our root chakra, that's associated with the colour red. So maybe as you lie here, being aware of the base of your spine, perhaps you may see the colour red in your mind's eye. Feel that sensation of connection. I'll leave you here now, just a little while longer. Now we're going to prepare to come out of this pose and into our final relaxation. So just give yourself a little shake of the hands and the feet. Tantramasana. This is our final pose, just to get the chi moving through the body. And then we're just going to find a shape that we can rest in. So you might want to take Shavasana with the legs nice and wide, hands by the side, palms facing up. You might prefer to stay on your belly or your side. Just choose a position that's comfortable for you. Before we begin our guided relaxation, let's take a few big breaths to release any tension from the body. And then just close your eyes and let your body soften. And start to pay attention to your breath. Noticing where your breath comes from, deep inside your body. Bring awareness to that part of the body. Noticing the rise and fall of your breath, the in-breath and the out-breath, like waves on the shore. And then when you're ready, start to take your awareness out of your physical body to the air around you. Notice what you can hear right now. And then extend your awareness outside your house. Become aware of the sounds and the comings and goings outside your house now. The noise, the calm, the fast pace, the slow pace. All of the activity in your neighbourhood taking place now. Then extend your awareness out to the whole of the country. And then even further until your awareness goes around the whole of the earth. And as you inhale and exhale, noticing the earth breathing with you. Notice what that feels like. And then let your body soften a little bit more. And a little bit more. And now passing your awareness even further to the galaxy and stars, to the solar systems, the planets, stretching as far as your awareness can go. And taking a moment to be with your breath once more. Noticing the inhales, the exhales. See if you can feel that sensation of being in space. And allowing yourself to know that you come from all of this. You're part of this stardust, this cosmos. You're part of it, and it's part of you. And you're right where you need to be right now. You are enough. You're part of the all. The all is part of you. Taking a moment to breathe this in. You're part of the all. The all is part of you. And you are enough. You are enough. You are enough. Then when you're ready, very gently start to bring your awareness back to the earth. Taking your feet back onto the earth, back to your country, to your neighbourhood, and much closer to a few feet away from your body. And then finally, bringing your awareness back inside you, to that part of you where you feel your breath, where you started this journey. Noticing the in-breath, noticing the out-breath. noticing if you feel different, even if it's very subtle. When you're ready, take a big cleansing breath in through the top of your head. Imagine it coming all the way down through the soles of your feet. And again, breathing in from the crown of your head and slowly out from the soles of your feet. One last time. Inhale through the top of the head. Visualize that breath moving all the way down your body, then out through the soles of your feet. And then very gently start to move your fingers and toes. Give yourself a nice stretch. Slowly roll over to one side. Make a little pillow with your hands, just resting there for a moment. And then when you're ready, ever so slowly bring yourself back to a comfortable seated position. Resting the hands on the knees or the thighs. And just settling here, feeling the sitting bones ground down, the shoulders soft, the face relaxed. Taking a big breath in, reaching the arms over the head. As you breathe out, bringing the palms to your heart center. Thank you for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed this practice. Namaste. See you again next time. Bye.